Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get into it with our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it. We have Reanna Monroe on the podcast. She's coming to us all the way from Colorado, where, the weather's got to be better than it is here, but we'll find out soon enough. And she's a nationally qualified NPC bikini competitor. She's only 21 years old, so again, making me feel ancient with the 5-year age difference. But most importantly, she is our current guest. Reanna, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Well, I got to ask first of all, because I love to torture myself. What is the weather like in Colorado today?
Today it's actually pretty sunny out. There is some wind, but it's a warm wind. It's an odd 77 degrees.
I hate my life. It is 30 degrees here, but hey, it's looking like it'll get warmer as we get closer to Thanksgiving, so hopefully that'll be nice. But yeah, I just gotta love that asking that question because even you just saying 77 degrees makes me feel just a tad bit warmer for even like half a second. So it's all worth it in the end. But before I get into that, why don't you give us your backstory first off on what really inspired and motivated you to get in shape and how that led to where you're at right now?
So honestly, from a young age, I was always pretty into fitness and everything. Like my dad and I competed in a lot of like Tough Mudders and Spartan races and all that. I did do high school sports. I swam for gosh, years and years. And I actually had a pretty bad shoulder injury. So I had to stop swimming. And then I transitioned over to cross country, just kind of fell in love with the running. And my passion for fitness just kept growing. I actually, when I went off to college, I had always struggled with like kind of anorexia and bulimia from a young age. It started at about, I'd say 11, 12. And it just would kind of come and go, as the years went on. But when I went off to college, it proceeded to get pretty bad because like my parents weren't there to really watch me and monitor how I was doing. So I started dropping weight like crazy. I was about 18 at this time, and I didn't really want to reach out for help. People were telling me, "Hey, you're looking really thin. Like you should probably get some help." And I was like, "I just don't see what you're seeing. I'm fine. I don't need help." And it got to the point where I started realizing this is not good. This is starting to become a pretty big problem. I am losing weight. I was starting to kind of see what everyone else was seeing, basically. And I went to my mom and I was like, I need help. I was like, I don't want a therapist. I don't want to like sit there and talk to someone. I was like, I really think what I need is a nutritionist or a trainer because I love fitness. I'm passionate about it. I like staying healthy, but obviously what I was doing was not healthy and I just needed some guidance. So she found my first trainer. He stuck with me the whole time through it. And it was not easy having to, watch my body change and just develop this completely different relationship with food. But I mean, he did it, honestly. And I have everything to thank for him for because of that. He got me to a healthy weight, a healthier mindset. And I was just getting more passionate about building muscle versus being thin. And I started to really become even more passionate about building muscle and everything. And he came to me one day and he's like, "Have you ever considered possibly bodybuilding?" And I was like, "What?" Like, I don't want to get that big. And he was like, "There's different divisions. Check out some of these bikini girls." He showed me them and I absolutely fell in love with it. I was like, "Yes, that is the look I'm going for. That is something I definitely want to do." So we started pursuing it. I started, you know, training like that, eating like that. I mean, I've always eaten really healthy, so it wasn't really too much of a change. And he was located in a different state than I am, so it was kinda hard with him being online and being so far, but he was very, very good with communicating with me, like FaceTiming, calling, sending check-in pictures and all that. And, I was with him for about, I wanna say a year and a half, and then one day I was working out at the gym per usual, and there was this bodybuilding team there. And that coach, his name is Matt Dawson, he, kept approaching me, he's like, "Hey, you have a great physique. You should be on my team." I was like, "I already have a trainer. I'm Thank you though, but I'm okay." And he honestly, I would see the whole team work out around the gym and I was like, I kind of want that. I want that team setting. So I actually transitioned to Matt and I was with him, I want to say for 2.5 years. And I did my first show with him. I've done 3 shows so far. They were all with him. Same thing. He just really helped me develop a better relationship with food and my body image, because that's something I've always struggled with is my own body image. To this day, I still struggle with it, but like I said, it has increasingly gotten better. And yeah, my passion for it has just grown immensely. I'm in love with everything about the sport. I recently did just change coaches, Matt, he was phenomenal, but I switched up to another coach. His name is Russ Allen, and he has probably one of the biggest teams in Colorado. And, he produces some of the best athletes. So I was super honored to be able to join that team. And I actually did that about, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And yeah, same thing. Just amazing. And yeah, I cannot reiterate enough how passionate I really am about this. The gym, it comes first for me. It really does. I base my entire school schedule around it. I base my work schedule around it. I mean, if it's a holiday, I'm still going to go to the gym. It's something I am extremely, extremely passionate about. And along with that comes the diet with it. I like eating super clean and healthy. It just makes you feel better. So that's honestly
Oh, we got
where
a
a
dog
lot of
alert
it
on the
started.
podcast, everyone. We got a dog. I love having dogs.
We
What's the
do.
what's the dog's name?
This is Ruby. She's my roommate's dog.
Oh, that's so cute. What kind of dog is she?
She is a German Shepherd Border Collie Kelpie mix.
Oh my god, that is awesome. Yeah, I'm one of the biggest dog lovers you'll ever meet. I'm actually coming up with a compilation of all the times that dogs have been on the podcast. So, yeah, that is
Are
that
you
is so cute.
really?
Yeah, we have a little Cavachon that's about like 8.5 pounds. So your dog would eat our dog for breakfast. But yeah, that is so cute. That's awesome.
She is. She's super cute. He got her, I don't know, how long have you had her? 2 months? Yeah. When he first got her, she was, oh my gosh, she was so small. I mean, she was the runt of the litter, so she didn't have too much of a personality and she would just like kind of look at you like, what are you? But now her personality is totally coming out and flourishing and she's a great dog. She's super, super loyal to him. So he couldn't have chose a better dog.
Yeah, and that is awesome. And I mean, going into your journey, what was that? I mean, you touched base on it a little bit, but what was that mental adjustment like going from both extremes to the spectrum of one, being very, very skinny to now, putting on a lot of muscle? What has that change been like for you mentally? Because I mean, just seeing that change, as the time has gone by in the mirror, that's got to be, just a weird thing to process mentally at first.
Um, it honestly was extremely hard. It is probably one of the hardest things I have done. When I started with Paul, I was only 100 pounds, and I'm like 5'8" and a half, 5'9" on a good day if I go to the chiropractor. But starting with Paul, I was about 100 pounds, and to this day, I weighed myself this morning. Granted, I'm still in a calorie deficit due from like post show because I'm on reverse diet. I'm 145. So that was extremely hard. For years, I couldn't step on the scale. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to know. It would tear me apart. I would look in the mirror and I could see the changes. And there were a lot of nights that I have complete and utter mental breakdowns. Just call him crying, saying, I can't do this. I feel fat. I can't do this. I hate the way I look. I can't eat this much food. It's tearing me apart. And he stuck with me the whole time. Like I said, if it wasn't for Paul, I very easily could have ended up very, very bad. Honestly, my parents were scared to the point they thought I was actually going to die because I got that thin. But it's still something I struggle with. It really is. I can sit here and lie and say, "Oh my god, I'm 100% okay." But I'm not. I'm really not. I just it's better. I cope with it more. I have a better understanding of everything. I mean, yeah, it's something that's super super challenging. And like even, when you're on show prep, you're constantly looking in the mirror. You're constantly doing weigh-ins, you're doing check-in pictures and you're like, it's not good enough yet. You're proud, but you're not satisfied. And it's just something you really have to I lean on other people who compete, because they're feeling the same exact way. If someone who does compete says, "Oh no, I've never had thoughts like that," the chance of them lying is pretty high because it's almost inevitable to not think that. And then show day gets here. Yes, you are completely in love with your physique. It is the best you've looked all year. And then after show day comes the reverse diet. And honestly, it's very, very challenging because prep, you're seeing these changes and you're progressing to peak version of you. Whereas reverse diet, you're going back to bulking phase. So you are gonna be putting on you're gonna be putting on the weight, you're gonna be taking in more calories, your cardio is gonna go down, you're not going to look as shredded, your diet phase goes away, and it's mentally it's really hard. I'm only on the second week post show, and it's difficult. I'm still holding on to doing a ton of cardio because for one, I absolutely love cardio. And for two, I do still have that phobia of, being fat.
You like cardio? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with? I
I
mean,
love
if you've
cardio.
if you've watched any of these podcasts, you know that is the bane of my existence. I hate it more than life itself. I'm only doing it now because I put on my 5 to 10 winter pounds a little early this year because of the coronavirus. But yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people. So I had an ex girlfriend that used to run marathons, and she would come up to me and be like, "Oh, hey Ryan, you want to go out for a run?" And simplest answer in my life, no. Not even
No.
close. I told her, I said, the only time you're ever gonna see me run, you got to pick up a knife and chase me with it. That's like the only time you'll ever see me start running. But yeah, I mean, I do. Even when I'm done talking to you, I'm gonna do like 80 minutes of walking on the treadmill tonight, just watching a movie. But it's just, yeah, I hate it. So whenever people say they love it, I was like, okay, what happened to you in life that you're just like, I love doing this? But no, that's so interesting. But one question that I ask every guest that I have on, because if you were to walk into a gym with 100 people, there's 100 different ways as to how those people got into shape, whether it comes down to their diet, their nutrition, how many reps they do, what exercises they do. So many little things add up to that overall package that people end up seeing. What was that like for you? Because I mean, if you could walk up to someone and say, "Hey, what'd you train for this body part? It looks amazing," and what works best for them 99% of the time is not going to work as good for you. What was that journey like for you, sort of figuring out what worked best for your body?
Um, I mean, I guess the only way I could put it, a lot of trial and error, essentially. I don't really have too many problems putting on muscle. I put it on a decent amount. I just have to really cut back on the cardio because I shred out extremely fast. So it wasn't too challenging. A lot of it has to do with, what your end look is going to be. Where like the bikini girls, they come in looking pretty lean, not too don't have that many striations in the muscles, not too muscular. So for us, it's going to be pretty a decent amount of sets and higher reps, with a lighter weight because it just builds the muscle differently. Where as say someone else, I don't know, a figure competitor, they're gonna have probably some less sets and lower reps, but they're gonna be pushing heavier weight just to get that different muscle look versus bikini.
I mean, I've honestly, so you named it perfectly. I've honestly thought about renaming this podcast into Trial and Error because it's like that's the theme that we deal with. The reason it's called DD on the Spot is because when I was in college, I was known as the designated driver because I had nights. So I'd be like, oh, okay, this Friday I'll be designated driver. This Saturday I am not going to be sober, so don't even try to call me. But I would be, so it would always be a set thing where, yeah. So I was always known as on the spot, and I'm one of those people where I love to drive. That's like I just love driving. So like literally you could live half an hour away from me and it's like, oh, you need me to pick you up from a party and drive you home. Sure, we'll crank some tunes while we're doing that. So that's how this name came to be. But yeah, trial and error was something that I wanted to consider renaming it, and I might even actually do it. Who knows? But I love to talk genetics on this podcast because so many people in this day and age, I mean, they're on all these social media sites. Oh my God, I want his arms, I want her abs, I want their back. People do not understand that you can only be the best version of yourself. I mean, I have to shake a lot of people down, just be like, you do not understand that, but you will not never look like them because you don't know how they got to that place. Some people just have freaky genetics. I've had people on the podcast where, I mean, it's like they had a 12 pack when they were like 5 years old. So it's like, okay, how's that even fair? But it's just people don't understand that you can only be the best version of themselves. But whenever someone first gets started working out, they always have that one body part that really, really takes off that they don't have to train as much. And they always have that one body part that just lags behind. I'm 6'3", so I understand the height thing when you're talking about being taller in this sport where, I mean, my back was the first thing to take off because I had jobs all throughout college of lifting and loading, boxes into trucks where you either got a really nice back or you quit. But being that tall, my legs and my lower body are just absolutely shot where, I mean, I could inject pure muscle into my legs and they wouldn't gain an ounce. I mean, I don't get it. Calves don't even get me started on that because that's one thing where you're either born with them or you're born without them. But what were those body parts for you when you were getting started working out?
I mean, honestly, the one thing is my abs. And people are like, "What do you do for these?" And I just don't train abs. They're there. I mean, I was genetically blessed with having nice abs. I really I really was. Don't get discouraged. It's
I'm
okay.
about 2 seconds away from shutting off this damn podcast. No, just kidding. No, but yeah.
um, my shoulders, they built pretty easily. My back, that one built super easy. My legs, pretty good as well. I mean, especially my quads. Females themselves are pretty quad dominant, so that wasn't hard. The one thing I do struggle with though is, of course, calves and hamstrings. I I train them like crazy, and it's just because I'm so quad dominant right now. They they just need to get better, basically. And yeah, that's just one thing I struggle with is the hamstrings and the calves.
Yeah, I mean, well, the moment you said that you're a swimmer, I was like, okay, swimmer's back because I also dated another girl
Oh,
who's a swimmer too, and it's like
absolutely.
trying to give her a hug. It's like hugging a tree, basically. Where you're just like, oh my god, I need to reach. Good thing I had a long reach and stuff, but yeah. So she's got the best of both worlds, everyone. Where she has nice legs, but she also has that back. Where I mean, that's the hardest thing. But I love asking that question because so many people just figuring out what they struggled with. It really does show that no one's ever the same, but one thing that we talked about briefly before I started recording this podcast, and it's a question that I love to bust, every single podcast, is that it's gotten better the last 5 years due to Instagram, but there's still so many women where if they walk into the gym, they just, they're like a vampire whenever they see the weights. It's just like, get away from me, basically. They're just going and walking over to the treadmill, and that's what they live off of. And, I remember in my gym, we had an upper level with a track and then a treadmills, and, that was 95% women, and a couple of guys would go up there. And then we had the gym where it was like 95% guys, and, a couple of women would go down there. But what would you how do you would you like to respond to that myth? Because I bet you still hear that from friends like, "Oh, I wanna get in shape, but I just don't wanna get too bulky," where it's like, "Oh my god, if only you knew." But how do you like to respond to
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of times where women will come up to me and they're like, "Oh my god, I want your body. What do you do for it?" They're like, "How do you diet? How many calories do you eat? How much cardio do you do?" And it's like, yes, that all plays factors into it, but lifting weights is going to get you the body you need. So I will be honest with them. I was like, honestly, I lift more than I do cardio, and they give me that look like, what? That makes no sense. It's like, no, it makes perfect sense. So I don't know. I guess how I respond to it, I'm like, you need to increase your calories and you need to stop doing so much cardio because essentially what you're doing is you are burning everything that you're putting into your body, and what the body's doing is it's taking that and it's like, oh my god, I'm like gonna go into starvation mode, so I'm gonna hold on to this fat but eat this muscle first. And that's where people get this misconception. They're like, if I decrease calories, increase activity, I'm going to burn this fat off. No, the body's going to attack muscle first and fat's going to be the last resort. That's just how it is being human. So I always recommend you need to increase your calories and start actually lifting. Cut back on the cardio. Just start lifting and you're going to see these definitions coming in. You're actually going to see weight loss and everything.
Yeah, I always whenever I get started on a new cycle of training, I always do like 80 minutes of cardio just for 1 week, like 5, 6 times a day, and then I get started, doing like 30 minutes of cardio and then working out and lifting and stuff because I just do it just to basically shock my body and be like, okay, okay, fat ass, get on the treadmill and just get that base going and hey, you'll start to lose. But yeah, I couldn't recommend that enough, and it's just I always just say to him too, it's like look at all these people in the gym. Do you really think that they just walked in there and they looked like that? And again, if that does happen to you, give me a call because I'll spend my entire life savings to train with you then because you have figured out the secret that so many people are looking for. You'll be the first ever trillionaire, so I'll invest whatever I have, in whatever you're teaching. But one thing that I also like to add on because I think it impacts women so much more positively than it does men is that confidence boost that working out gives you. I mean, we have heard hundreds of stories on this podcast of, women where it either helps them either become maybe more assertive or it just helps them, you know, it's the one thing that I think you can take from the gym and use to impact every single aspect of your life. How have you taken this confidence boost that working out's given you and use it to impact your life in a positive way?
I mean, honestly, like you said, it really did boost my confidence 100%. Like, I used to never be okay with posting pictures showing my body. I always used to wear baggy clothes. I would always wear a hoodie at the gym and sweatpants. I didn't want anyone to see because in my mind, I was like, I look like, and I'm fat. I don't want anyone to see this. But then I started seeing these results, and people actually started, coming up and saying, hey, you're looking really good, and that helps. So now I'll just go into the gym sometimes rocking a sports bra and some spandex if it's leg day. It's hot, where before I would die sweating so much because I would be so hot. But I was like, I just don't want anyone to see this. But now you walk in there and it's just, I always compliment people and people compliment you. It really helps just boost it. And as far as putting on as much muscle as I have, it has made me a bit more assertive. Like if there's something that I disagree with someone, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Or, say I'm out with my friends and someone disrespects them, I'm gonna probably say something to your face because that's not okay. Like this is not okay to say. And
So have you become like the enforcer of the group, basically?
yes, in a way, my friends always joke. They're like, if I get in a fight, I'm calling you. I'm like, okay. Didn't say I know how to fight.
Yeah, yeah, that's another misconception that people have too, where it's like, yeah, just because they're big doesn't mean they. I've met plenty of guys where it's like that as well. But yeah, that's awesome. And we talked a little bit about nutrition, but what were some of the bigger nutritional changes that you made when you first got started? Because I mean, you like we said before, you literally went from night to day when it came to your overall look. So what were the nutritional changes that you made that were necessary for that?
Um, I mean, in the beginning, I went from eating well, when I was still pretty anorexic and bulimic, I absolutely hated eating, so I would drink all my meals, like protein shakes and smoothies. That was my life. So transitioning to actual solid foods, that was a big difference, and then literally increasing the amount of meals I have daily. I probably have anywhere from 6 to 8 meals a day. People hear that, they're like, "Oh my god, that's so much food." It's like, "Yes, but these are small quantities of food," you know? And what that does, it essentially just kinda speeds up your metabolism. And people, they're like, "You're gonna get fat." It's like, "You're not, you're actually gonna lose weight doing that." So, that was a huge change. I have a lot of protein in my diet. I eat a ton of chicken. I really do. I probably go through, I wanna say, like, 15 breasts a week, depending on where I'm at in my plan, if it's prep or post-show, stuff like that. I eat a lot of asparagus. I love asparagus. That kinda, it helps get water off the body, and I love asparagus in general. I eat a ton of egg whites, protein powder, rolled oats, sweet potato, broccoli, rice cakes, and almonds. That pretty much sums up my entire diet.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I also have 4 chicken breasts that I have every night after I'm done working out. They always are cooking in the thing, and then it's yeah. I mean, I'm one of those weird people though, where I gotta have them be almost like crispy, almost burnt, because I like them when they're crunchy. So literally,
Yeah.
they're in there for like an hour and a half, and I had to move back in with my parents because of coronavirus, and they're like, "You're gonna
Mhm.
burn the oven down," because I have it up as high as I can go, like 480, and then I put them in for like an hour and a half. But hey, that's what I like. But no, yeah,
That's how you like your chicken.
that's how I like my chicken. And like, yeah, well, because I'm also kind of I'm always because I had one bad time where I undercooked chicken and then I got very very sick. So
Oh,
that's kind of a fear.
no.
That's kind of a fear of mine. So I'm like I'm gonna burn this thing to make sure that there's no way in hell that I'm gonna get sick from this. Basically, then. So yeah, I kind of went the opposite on that. But one thing that is never talked about really when it comes to bodybuilding that I love to ask the guests because it's one thing that I think for a lot of them is the hardest thing when it comes to this lifestyle is the posing. I mean, we hear it so many times. It's harder than the working out. It's harder than the nutrition. I compare it now to being a perfect driver, where you can be a great driver. You can never be a perfect driver. You can be a great poser. You can never be a perfect poser. It's always ever evolving. What is your experience like with posing been?
Honestly, with posing, I picked it up pretty easy. Yeah, I it really wasn't hard for me to learn the poses and everything. I guess what's more hard is training your muscles to do it because you are up there and you make it look pretty flawless. You're like, "Oh, that no problem." But I mean, you're up there and especially in your back pose as bikini, you're sitting there, you're arching your back really hard. And you're going to cramp on stage and you just have to suck it up, really, and just keep arching it. My first posing coach, she was great. Her name was Carol Semple and she was actually Miss Olympia. So she taught me a lot with posing. My next posing coach, her name is Sarah Hartman. She competes at national levels and everything, and, I guess she's more up to date on posing, so that was super cool working with her because what poses are in and kinda what poses are out, which pose fits your body better versus, the old school ones. Like, example, for my first show, my essentially winning pose was my front pose, and instead of, what it is today, a front pose for bikini girls, you're to the side, but you're, like, facing frontwards, you know what I mean? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Where, the original front pose, you're facing frontwards, but your legs are facing frontwards as well, and you kinda lean into that back hip, twist, and then forward, so it just gives you a completely different look. I couldn't hit that pose this time because my quads grew so much, and it just made them look huge on stage. That new front/side pose fit me better for these last shows, and it was able to, show the hamstrings and the glutes better and the, I don't know, the caps of your shoulders. So a lot of it depends on your body at the time and what pose is going to flatter your body the most. And that's why it's super beneficial to have a posing coach. Whereas if you see, say, Miss Olympia and you're like, "Oh, her routine looks beautiful, I'm going to take her routine." Her routine could not work with your body at all. So it's really about finding what poses accent your body the most.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, 100%. And one thing that is especially true with just, I think, really just bikini competitors is that you have to have your own like pizzazz, you have to have your own flair basically. You have to have that sort of personality. Was that something that you've always had, or was that something that like you really had to develop going on that stage?
Um, I really had to develop that going on stage because, like I said, I used to be pretty shy about my body and just kind of, yeah, just shy in general. But as I kept competing and after that first show, I did really well at it. So that really boosted my confidence and everything. And then after these last couple of shows and just, practicing the posing with people and posing with other girls and going to other shows and just watching them pose, you really just start to develop your own routine that's specific for you. Like my wave off stage, no one else has that. That's mine, it's all about confidence. Some girls up there are up there and say their confidence is a little bit more flirtatious than the girl next to them. It's really just what suits you the best and finding that. Mine, I don't do the whole kind of flirtatious hair flip thing, and that's just not me. That's not me. It's not who I am. For other girls, yeah, that looks phenomenal on them. That works great on them. But it's really just about finding what works best for you. And the thing I can recommend to really find that is you find a song that's kind of a slower tempo and you just put your headphones in and just ignore everything else and you go through your routine and you honestly just let your body flow with it and you will find what works best for you and just video your routine like video after video. Go back and watch it, send it to your posing coach, send it to your coach, send it to your friends, and just see what they say. And eventually it all comes together and you build this confidence that only you have.
Well, don't worry, I cannot do the hair flip as well. So we're in the same group together here, so you don't have to worry about that. But one thing that I think is probably the most unfair thing is that they have to have you make wear those high heels when you walk out on stage. What has that been like for you, getting adjusted to those high heels? Because I always say, don't these people go through enough as is, and you're already making them wear heels? That's just ridiculous.
It wasn't adjustment really at all. I mean, I love wearing heels from a young age. I've always liked it, because I always wanted to be taller. I was like, oh, I wish I was 6 foot. Well, how am I going to reach that wearing heels? So that wasn't hard at all. I guess the thing I struggled with the most was the bikini walk, like walking out onto stage because you kind of have to do a little bit of this crisscross, put one foot in front of the other and you have to kind of over exaggerate it because that's just I don't know, it looks good, it looks really classy, but for me, that's something I struggled with at first because I just couldn't get it down. I would forget to do that, but I practiced and practiced and practiced, and, it started to just come natural, and I didn't even think about it anymore. But no, the heels, I love it.
Hey, you're one of the few where it's like, yeah, that's they actually really enjoy it. But we talked you breached on this before, but I'd love to get into it again. Is that like one thing that a lot of people it's another myth that I love to bust is that so many people have that belief where it's like, oh, those people must be in shape 24/7. They must look like they look on stage 24/7. It's like, unfortunately, that is not the case. I mean, the human body is not meant to be in that, depleted of a state that you get into before you walk on stage. People do not realize, you've manipulated your water, you've manipulated so many things to look like that. What was that like for you when you first realized that, like, hey, I am gonna have to put on some weight after this because, a lot of people look in the mirror and they're like, oh my God, this is the best I'm gonna look for a while. What was what was that like at first? And has it gotten easier for you to accept that as you've done more shows?
So my very first show coming off onto my reverse diet, it honestly it wasn't that hard, because I had this goal. I was like, I want more muscle. I want to come in more muscular for my next show, and I knew exactly what I had to do to obtain that. So it wasn't too hard. I had to take about a year off to put that muscle on. These past shows, I mean, I just did back-to-back shows, so I'm still kinda on the reverse. So far, it's not easy. It's really not. I knew it was coming. I knew this was gonna happen, so I kinda, like, prepared myself. Um, it's really just having to tell yourself, "You can't stay in this deficit. You can't. It's not gonna be fair, and if you want to, you're going to lose what you have." And it's just my best advice is just stick to your reverse diet. You have a coach for a reason. They have your macros for a reason. And just like, keep up with your workouts and keep up with your cardio. Sure, it is completely okay to go out and have a cheat meal. I had a cheat meal today. I had a cinnamon roll. It was amazing. It was so good. It was so good. But because I had that cinnamon roll, I used up all my carbs for the day. So now I don't get any more carbs. And I do have to go back and do cardio. Do I have to go back and do cardio? No. It's just how I cope with it. I had a cheat meal. I got to go do some extra cardio. But I guess, like, my best advice for that is just, like, stick to your reverse diet, don't just completely lose control, and a lot of times that happens. It's okay, you're only human, that's what people need to remember. But, yeah, stick to that reverse diet and just really tell yourself, "I want to do better for the next show. In order to do better, I need to get off this deficit, reevaluate, change certain parts of the body, and come in even stronger and beat who I was on the stage at this next show."
Yeah, I mean, it's a mental mind game, and it's something that people don't understand is that this is so much more of a mental lifestyle than it is a physical. But a lot of people just only recognize the physical because that's the only thing that they can see. But I mean, that mental change is 10,000 times more important than the physical change. But now we get to the big elephant in the room, the coronavirus, because I mean, it's one thing that's impacted our lives more than I would have ever imagined. I mean, I remember in early March just thinking, oh, this is gonna be like a 1 or 2 week thing, and then we'll be done with it, and then there should be like a little card here that says like 8 months later, and then we're at where we're at right now. But how has this impacted you, especially being in college? Because I am so lucky that I wasn't in college for this, that I'd already graduated, because with my ADD, there's no way I'm taking anything online. Like, I would not have the focus of the concentration. I'd be like, Mom, Dad, I'm dropping out until this virus, gets under control, or I'm going to community college or something like that, because there's no way that I'd be able to concentrate for this. But how have you been dealing with this whole pandemic? And especially being, a lot of people that we talked to were in prep before it really struck, and then they really struggled with that. But what was your overall journey like during this pandemic?
Um, so I mean, I was actually going on show prep when Corona happened, and I think I was only about 3 weeks in. It wasn't too detrimental. I was like, "Oh, this sucks." I was like, "But it's gonna be okay." Only shows got canceled, and then gyms closed. That honestly destroyed me. I will be honest. I fell kind of into a hole because the gym it's like my home. It is my happy place. It is literally everything. Like I said, my life pretty much revolves around fitness and the gym, and just knowing I was unable to go there, it was very very hard. I there were many tears shed, needless to say. But my dad, he's a great person. He actually put a home gym in his garage. So for the time being that everything was shut down, I would go up and stay with him about, I don't know, 4 days, be able to work out there, and then I'd come back down to my place and, just kinda do what I could here. But it was super challenging. I'm so thankful that he had his home gym, so I still had stuff to do, and, I actually started taking on shuffling because I like EDM music, I like going to shows. I really don't do that much anymore, but it was something I did for a while, and I was like, "I've always wanted to learn how to shuffle and get better at it." So I just practiced a lot of shuffling, and I was like, "Cool, this is the new cardio." So I did that a lot, and, I learned a lot about myself during quarantine and just kinda, like, what my priorities were, and it just brought my family and I closer. It brought my friends and I closer. I grew a whole new appreciation for the gym and work, because sometimes you're like, "God, I don't wanna go to work," but when it's not there, you're like, "Oh, wow, I kinda miss that. I wish it was back." So, my appreciation for things grew a whole lot more, and, I don't know, it was pretty good. I tried to stick to my diet, but that was hard, because you get bored sometimes and you eat a lot, but I really feel it was pretty beneficial for my body because it finally had a break, and once gyms opened up and I was back in there, I mean, my transformation, it was pretty great. I just put on size like crazy because I had that huge break and I wasn't, sitting in there pushing weight and everything and going every day and just doing a ton of cardio. It just kinda had a break, but mentally, it wasn't easy, but, I mean, you got through it. You didn't have a choice, you had to get through it.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's something that I think so many people struggled with, at first, but then they might have learned some things to adapt. But please tell me, when you're doing EDM workouts, when you're lifting, you wait until the beat to drop before you start to do it.
Oh,
Okay. Okay,
100%.
I just had to make sure, because I was like, okay, if she's really into, I was like, if she just starts with when the song starts, it's like, no, you gotta get around, you gotta get in the zone, and like, especially if you're doing like a bench or a deadlift, you wait until that damn beat drops and then you get into it. But I
Oh,
used to do that.
yeah.
I used to do that with Party Rock Anthem. That used to be my song back in like college and stuff,
It's
early high
so
school.
good. It's
I
so
know. You
good.
wait
I
for that beat
still
to drop.
listen to that
Yeah.
song.
I know. We almost, one of my friends in high school, we almost broke his stereo system in his car because we kept blaring it so loud. That's what we do before we went to like hockey games or basketball games for the team.
Mhm.
We just bump it. So yeah, it's yeah. I That's a really good motivation thing too. But Yeah, it's just so fascinating. And it just got announced today in Minnesota that our gyms are closing again. So everyone's been freaking out now. Like I got a message. Yeah,
No. Oh my
I got a
gosh.
message from a guy. He's like, "Do you have an extra set of 40 pounders?" And I was like, "Yeah, we have an extra set." So because he already knew that, and he's like, "Can I come over and pick them up later?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, just a 40-pound dumbbell." So
Oh
yeah,
my
it's
gosh.
luckily my parents like
I'm so
they had something
sorry.
ahead of. Well, no, I'm lucky. So like my parents have a full setup downstairs where like when we were kids and
Oh,
like training
that's
for sports,
nice.
they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get you ready." So it's we have like a I forgot what it's called, but it's like a full weight system where you can do lat pull downs, you can do back rows, you can do anything, and then we have a tiny bench from like 1980 that is gonna break one of these days.
Mhm.
So I'm just hopefully it's not when I'm benching that's gonna break. Hopefully it's like one of my because I'm a middle child. I have a younger brother that still lives at home too because he just graduated college. Or hopefully it breaks on him because he works out too. So fingers crossed on that one. But so we have a nice step, and then we have a treadmill, and then we have a bike. Even though no one uses the bike, so I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, so I'm good, but yeah, it's just the time that we live in, and it's just all these shortages that we have. But what's it been like for school? Because I mean, what's the current policy at like around right now? Do you have any in attendance classes, or is it all online?
For school, it's been quite the transition. I always hated online classes. I would try to take them over the summer and I would drop them probably 2 days in and be like, nope, I need it to be in person. Obviously didn't have a choice. It's been quite the adaptation. Professors, they're really doing the best they can. I have some classes that are hybrid classes, so part online and part in person. I actually moved all mine to online, so even my labs are online because I was just like, I go to class for 1 hour a week. It's just like to me, I was just like, "That's not worth it when I can spend the time at the gym and watch the lecture when I do cardio."
Please tell me
So
that's what
that's how
you.
I
Please tell me
interpreted
you told
it.
that professor that was the excuse. Like, I need more gym time, bro. Just cut me a break.
I just I need it for the gains, man. I
Yeah,
need it for
yeah.
the shreds and the
Need it for
gains.
the shreds. Yeah.
But, yeah, I just moved all mine online, and I do and don't like it. I like it because, I can watch my classes whenever, you know? I can work more with it. I just I I don't know, it's a love-hate relationship with it because the in-person is such a different experience versus the online. Whereas with this one, I could do it at my own pace. I can take my notes easier because I could pause it, write it down, and then play it versus in person when you're like, "Oh my god, I missed what they say. Okay, gonna have to figure out what he said later." But, I do kinda miss the face-to-face interactions. It's not terrible. It's not the best. I don't know, I just kinda adapted with it. I graduate in spring, so or I mean, not this spring. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. No, actually, I was supposed to graduate in spring, but it got pushed back to next fall, 21 because of corona, so I was like, "Okay, that's great." But,
What are you majoring in?
so right now I'm majoring in animal science and I'm on the pre-vet track, but, I've wanted to be a vet ever since I was very, very young, and quite frankly, I've, lost a passion for it. Still gonna finish it, but I'm actually gonna go into chiropractics. Who would have thought?
I could have never been a vet only because like if they had me ever like put down animals, I just couldn't do it. Like it's like yeah, I'm not doing that. So yeah, that's the only reason why I didn't study that because yeah, I'm a huge animal lover. But yeah, that's awesome. So do you get chiropractics done on you for bodybuilding? Because we know a lot of guests get like they get massages and stuff. Is that what really piqued your interest into it? Is did you do you have a lot of work done on you, especially when you're in prep?
Oh, yeah, I really do. I mean, I would go occasionally here and there, but on this prep, you're beating your body up, you really are. And, I started going to a chiropractor weekly, and I was like, "Wow, this is actually helping. This is super beneficial." And, the guy who I go to, his name is Jake Mays, and he actually just opened up his practice, and he's phenomenal. I mean, he's one of the best chiropractors I've ever been to. He tells me the muscles that are going on, he tells me which ones he's gonna work. He performs all kinds of stuff. It's not just chiropractic, pop, pop, snap. He does this thing called Graston, where have you heard of that?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
I Oh my gosh, he'll do it. He'll be like, "Okay, what are you hitting today?" And so you're hitting shoulders. He'll do Graston on your shoulders, and you get the best shoulder pump of your life. It's so good. But just hearing him talk about all the different muscles and the body parts, it fascinates me how everything really works together. And if one thing's off, it's gonna mess up a lot of other things. So that's why I started really thinking about it. And even in high school, I was pretty fascinated with the human body and the anatomy of it. And I took, gosh, what was that? I took sports medicine. I wasn't going to take it, but actually the teacher came up to me. She's like, "Hey, like you love anatomy and physiology. Why aren't you in my sports medicine class?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll try it." But I just had this. burning passion to become a vet. And I've worked at a clinic for 3 years as an ERT, which I'm an emergency room and evaluation room tech. I love it. I really do love my job, but working there and just like being in school for it, I I kind of burned myself out, and yeah, my passions changed. I mean, I still love animals. I will always have animals and have a basic knowledge of them and everything, but my passion really lies in the health and fitness department and
Do
everything.
you have any times when you're done getting a massage where you basically look like you got beat up, so then you gotta hide yourself from your friends where you're like, "No, I didn't get to do into a fight, trust me," because I've seen some of those photos where people are like purple basically in their back after they get one of those, and it's like, who did that to you, and like, why are you going back there then? But it's just it helps a lot, and it's really weird how that can sometimes be beneficial to people.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh, I really do love massages. Like the last time I got one, I'm not kidding, I had bruises all up my legs and people were like, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "It was just a massage. It's okay." But I really do love massages, but honestly, the chiropractor, it just sends it for me. I just feel so much better afterwards. And I fully believe in all that. I've never done acupuncture personally. I'm kind of terrified of needles. I want to try cupping someday. I actually have a friend who does it, so eventually I'll do that. I was gonna do it in the last couple weeks, but I was like, oh wait, I have a show. I can't be going on show with a bunch of purple rings around me. So eventually I'll try that. But I am all for trying everything to help the body. Like last week, I think it was, I got a connective tissue massage. Just all kinds of different things, and your body likes it. Take care of it. You like your body. So I am all for that.
So before I make this next question, so do you watch the show Friends at all?
Here and there, yes.
So I have a friend who in college wanted to become a masseuse. She was just like when
Mhm.
Monica massages Chandler, where it's the most painful thing ever. Like it's not good. Like so she would be like, "Oh, just let me give you a massage after your workout or whatever." And I did it one time, and literally I thought my back was gonna break. Where it was just like,
Oh my gosh.
"Oh my god!" So then I told her I was like, "Okay, you might want to switch majors because this is not for you." And I'm saying this as a friend. Like you did your best, but it's
I'm
like
saying this as a friend.
yeah, and she was like 5'3", so I was like, okay, I'm a full foot taller than you, and you almost broke me in half. So it's like, come, you gotta switch things up. But yeah, that's awesome. And one of the last things I love to talk about is that it's never talked about, and it's the most important thing when it comes to recovery. It's the most important thing when it comes to just probably your overall life is sleep. I mean, it's so undervalued with a lot of people, especially in this day and age with technology and whatnot. But what's the proper amount of sleep that you try to get? And do you have any tips and tricks for people out there that are struggling with maybe getting that proper amount of sleep?
Mhm. So I usually try to get about 6 to 8. Um, what I have to do I mean, it's really hard to sleep on show prep because you are on a deficit and your body's like, "I'm hungry, give me some carbs." So you naturally just kinda sleep like crap. But, I've never really had too many problems obtaining sleep. I fall asleep pretty well. If I don't sleep that well, I'll take a little melatonin, like 3 milligrams, fall right asleep. I did have to start putting reminders into my phone during this prep saying, "Go to bed." So I just be like, "All right, I need to, like, stop with the social media, stop with whatever the else I'm doing, and actually go to bed." So that's something that really helped me is just, like, putting a reminder in there. And, yeah, I don't know, sleep is it's really important. But like I said, I don't really struggle with it too much. I can kinda sleep anywhere. I did have to get a weighted blanket because there for a while, I think it was like a week, I was like, I can't sleep." And, my roommate let me borrow his weighted blanket one night, and I slept like a baby. So, I went and got a weighted blanket, and ever since then, I sleep so well at night.
Yeah. No, and that's one thing that I've heard from people as well, where it's like, and I used to work nights before the pandemic, so I'd be going to bed at like 4 in the morning. So I always found that interesting, where a lot of these guests were getting up around then. And I was like, oh, it's definitely a lot more difficult to fall asleep when the sun is coming up. But if someone were to walk up to you and say, Rihanna, we made the decision where you can change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding, and everyone would go along with it, what would be one thing that you would like to see changed?
Oh, man. Um, one thing I like to see changed is, the stereotypes that people place on us and the misunderstanding that a lot of us receive from those who don't participate in the sport. And another thing is a lot of people don't consider it a sport, who don't even do it. And what people neglect to see is that this is literally it's not just bodybuilding, it's a complete lifestyle. You don't have just one game. It is year round. You are doing this no matter what phase you are in. You're in show prep, cool. You are in bulk season, great. This is something that you do year round 24/7. It is a complete lifestyle. And sometimes I wish those who don't do it respected it more because so yeah, like I said, they just don't understand and they don't really get it. And sometimes you get some crap from people who are like, "Well, like, why do you do that? You know, why do you have to do that? Why do you eat like that? Why do you do this to yourself?" And it's like, "Well, I choose everything I do," but they just don't realize like how hard it is. And especially on show prep, you know, you're tired, you're depleted, and people just take that as you they're like, "Well, why are you so sad?" You know, like, "Are you depressed?" It's like, "No, I am not. I'm tired, I'm depleted, I'm doing so much cardio as it is." And it's just I just wish people understood more. And, as far as the stereotype is people hear bodybuilding and they immediately think, "Oh, jacked up steroids, roid rage, this, and that," you know? It's like, no, it's not like that. It's really not. To me, it's one of the most beautiful sports out there. You It's a lonely sport. It really is. Like, yes, you can be on a team, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to you. You choose what you put in your mouth. You choose to go to the gym. You choose to push yourself. It's lonely, but it's absolutely beautiful because you're in charge of your body and you can change it and carve it. And I just think that's absolutely beautiful. The body is capable of so much. And yeah, if I could change things, it would be the stereotype that's placed on us. I wish more people understood, and I wish more people saw how hard of a sport it really is.
No, I couldn't agree with that more, and it's just so great that you were able to say that. And yeah, I hear those stereotypes all the time, and it's like once you meet them, they're some of the nicest people you'll ever meet on the planet, bodybuilders, where it's like they're more than willing to
Yeah,
help, and it's just so important. But lastly, I mean,
yeah.
again, if we were to talk to you a year from today, and again, I say this where if I had you on last year and we had you say, what would you like to be at in a year? If you'd have predicted a global pandemic and all the stuff that's gone on, I would have bet my entire life savings against you, and I would have lost, all of my money. But so again, if we talk a year from today and you see like a fire going on in the background, you hear like gunshots, who knows what this future is going to be like a year from today based on how this last year was. But in an ideal world, if we were to talk to you a year from today, where would you like to be at in your bodybuilding? Where would you like to be at just in your overall life? What are some goals that you would like to have achieved?
Oh man, as far as bodybuilding goes, I mean, ideally, I want to get my pro card as soon as I can. You know, I did qualify at the shows I have done. I've qualified for nationals each time. Personally, I don't think I'm ready for a national stage. Those girls up there, you know, they have years in this stuff, and they are a lot older than me. I am pretty young to be in the sport as it is. So, I mean, ideally, I'd like to be hitting a national show. Um, in a perfect world, I'd like to have my pro card by then. But like I said, first step is just like hit a national show and see where I place. As far as a career goes, I mean, I'll be graduating in fall, so hopefully I'll be on the right track for a master's and everything and figure out where I'm going to go for that. And I don't know if I'm going to stay in Colorado. You know, nothing really is keeping me here except for, well, I mean, I shouldn't say nothing. I mean, my family's here, but the world's a big place, so why not try somewhere
And
else?
any destination in mind?
I have thought about oh man, there for a while I was about going to California, but overrided that decision. Quite frankly, I spent some time there. I'm like, yep, definitely not for me. Um, I've always loved Texas. I've always thought about going to Texas. So who knows? I might go to Texas. I do know there's a really great chiropractor school in Georgia. So honestly, south. I'm just thinking about
You
going
like it
south.
when it's 115 degrees outside?
I mean, it's better than when it's
Yeah.
here and it's what, -10, -15.
Well,
You
here's the
gotta go
thing.
out there and
Here's the thing.
start the car.
If you can you'll die from heat if it's like 150 degrees out, but it's never going to be like that. You'll die if you walk outside and it's -20. That's the excuse that I always like to give, where it's like you actually die in the snow as opposed to like just being over. But no, trust me. Every winter, once it gets to like -10, 15, like it will every January here, that's when you really start to think of like, why am I living here? But yeah, and lastly, is there
Mhm.
anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Oh, man. There's a lot of people. I like to give a shout out to my parents. You know, my parents are huge, huge supporters with me in this. You know, if it wasn't for them, probably wouldn't be here today. I like to give a shout out to Paul Stepp, my very
Well,
good
yeah, if they
trainer,
didn't get
Matt
together,
Dawson.
first of all, if they didn't get together, you wouldn't be here today. So that's that's plus one
Oh,
basically.
oh,
Yeah.
that's like plus 10
Shout
points
out
for
to
them.
mom and dad for that one. Thanks for that. Yeah, that one night. Thank you guys. You guys did a
um,
great job. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, I don't know, everyone who supported me, especially Paul Stepp, that very first coach I had, he really he saved me. That's what I say. I always thank him. I always keep him up to date on how I'm doing, and I'm just like, "You saved me." Secondly, Matt Dawson, who is my second coach, who really got me into the bodybuilding world and competing. My new coach, Russ Allen, I'm so excited to start working with him because, like I said, he produces phenomenal athletes. And just like all my friends who really stuck by me and supported me through this entire journey because it's not easy. And I just appreciate everyone who gave me the support, the encouraging words, who was just telling me, "You're going to do great. You're going to do fine. Like you've done the work. You're there." Just yeah. I mean, I could sit here and list off tons of names, but
Yeah. No,
that would take a while. So,
yeah,
I mean,
and
they
that
know who they are.
yeah, they know who they yeah, absolutely. And I mean, she's got a test about to come up in about 7 minutes here too, so I'm going to wrap this up real quick, but yeah, again, we cannot thank you enough for coming on the podcast, and everyone go and give her a follow. I'll leave a link to her Instagram page down below, and buyer beware, you will get inspired to get off that couch and stop eating those Twinkies and get in shape. But yeah, first of all, Rihanna, enjoy the sunlight because as you can see, it's gotten dark here now since I'm an hour ahead of her. Everyone, she has about another hour to enjoy the sunlight, so enjoy that while it lasts. But again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, and just keep doing what you're doing. We'll have you on a year from today, and we'll see where you're at, and hopefully you are in a little bit more of a warmer climate to make me even more jealous. But again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you about this. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. So
Oh,
thank you.
no worries at all. I mean, and again, and I'll just give you one piece of advice. You're 21. Live your damn life, okay? Do it for me at least. Being that I'm 26 and I already acting like my life is like halfway over, which hopefully it isn't. But hey, live it up because you're at that young age where you can still do all these things. But yeah, again, you guys, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.